What's up, guys? We are back with another G.I. Joe Classified Series review, taking a look at the latest deluxe big multi-pack kind of thing when it comes to Classified. We're taking a look at the CROCMASTER and Fiona set. So similar to what they did with Snake Eyes and Timber, you get a character and then a beast, and in this case it's a big old crocodile. So a lot of new and different and weird stuff going on with this set. It still comes in very familiar style packaging, just like that Snake Eyes and Timber set, so it's kind of like a double wide thing. You got your figures there in the window, you've got some artwork in the corner that wraps around to the spine as usual. This guy and gal are number 38 in the line, and then the back of the box gives us a much larger shot of that sort of collage artwork that we've been seeing more recently with some of the current figures. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package. We're going to take a look at CROCMASTER himself first, and then we will get to our reptilian friend. So this guy is, he's pretty cool. I've really been looking forward to this one just because in many ways this thing is a very different kind of set from the rest, especially on the Cobra side for now. So we've got a pretty different but still very familiar kind of figure here, if that makes any sense. So as far as articulation goes, we've got our head. He goes about that far up. Down really good though with that neck in conjunction. You've got a little bit of tilt side to side, full rotation. Of course, you've got to watch your tubing here, but you know, it basically allows you to go as far as you need to. Arms out at the shoulder. They do of course rotate. You do have your butterfly joint. They are not the most robust though, so butterfly shimmies really. We've got our bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. He's got hinges and rotation at the wrist. We've got it's a lateral hinge on this side, and it is what do we got over here? Another lateral hinge. So both are horizontal hinges on the wrists. Torso, he is a little floppy. Like, you know, I don't know if this is across the board, but mine is a little floppy. He goes backwards. He goes forwards a little bit, and then of course you've got your ball peg at the waist, so he goes forward about that far total. And then you've got your ball peg, so shimmy back and forth, side to side, and rotation there. Legs, well, you take the gun out. Legs will go about this far. You've got your holster on his left, your right, so that's going to get in the way a little bit. You do have drop-down hips, so they pop up and down. And then put your gun in there. You know, want to drop those hips down a little bit, and they'll go out a little further, but you've still got to watch the gun. It's going to get in the way. You've got your thigh cut all the way around, of course. Double jointed knees, and we've got boot cut down here, and then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down at those ankles. Now, one thing I'm going to point out is that the hinges on this guy's ankles are black for some reason instead of the molded green that the ankles or the shins and the feet are, which I don't know why. I mean, well, I'm sure there's a reason why it was molded at the same time as another black part, but it seems odd. Not a big fan of that from an aesthetic point, but the functionality is still there. So he's a very normal classified figure. Like, there's really nothing different about this guy. He's using you know, pinned joints still, so we're not fully pinless on this guy, but he still moves just as good as pretty much anything else you've already got. Now, visually, I'm very happy with CROCMASTER. I think he's going to stand out on the shelf pretty well because he is still a different kind of figure. He's a little bigger. You know, he's a little bit, you know, more svelte than some of the majority of our Cobra figures. And he's also got a lot of green on him, which, of course, isn't the most common with what we have thus far in the line. So, you know, he's got exposed arms. So he's got some big burly arms here. He's got this gauntlet for whatever purpose, whatever this is supposed to be, some sort of gauntlet on this side. He's got a silver gauntlet on this side. He's got his green sort of reptilian scale tank top with the sort of green overspray on top of it. So green on green, and then of course you've got your sculpted Cobra emblem, which is also fully painted. We've got this really gnarly and just snazzy looking belt. So silver, yellow. He's basically got a big old cod piece going on here. So silver, yellow belt with this, like, you know, reptile eye. I'm thinking like Eye of Sauron stuff right here is what I think of when I see it. And then you've got, you know, your reptile cod piece that goes down the front there, basically kind of like an extenuation of his tank top there. Legs are pretty plain, but that's not really a negative. They're pants. They're supposed to be pants. He's got his holster here, which is free floating, but it cinches pretty nicely. It's no real worry about it falling. He has a boot knife sheath down here with the knife in there at the moment, and then you've got your green boots that match some of the rest of the colors. So the green on the tank top, the green on this gauntlet, Of course, like I mentioned, he does have black hinges for some reason. I don't know if that's going to be a thing across the board, or maybe it's going to be a running change possibly somewhere down the road. I would love to have seen that been green, because if anything, visually, it's the one thing that kind of stands out. It's like that's a weird thing for them to have done. It seems like an odd miss. But otherwise, he's got a little bit of size on him. He's a little bit beefier, and he just looks like he is ready to throw down, especially in conjunction with what's going on with, his tank on the back. You can even see his tank top on the back has got this like alligator motif going on. So all of this is fully sculpted and kind of lifted off the character. And then you've got the tubing that runs to the mask, which is super, super metallic, really, really silvery. And then you've got this very mysterious, very evil looking, just stark black head sculpt with the mask. And then those piercing, super, super menacing red eyes, which I really like. They are very much in stark contrast to the rest of the upper body, this head sculpt, and then this apparatus that he's got on there. So he's a pretty gnarly looking figure, and like I said, he's definitely going to stand out amongst your bad guys, because for now, he just looks so different from the majority of everything we've already gotten in this line. Now, as far as Fiona goes, she is very much her own thing, and very much just as big of a part of this set as CROCMASTER himself, because there is a lot of articulation packed into this, not to mention the fact she is really big too. Let's do that real quick. So this is probably the easiest way to do it. There she is right there. Here's CROCMASTER. Just throw him on top. He is as long to her back legs, so there's still the whole tail to contend with. She's about 10-ish inches long, roughly 11 maybe. And she does have pretty decent articulation. She's not the most dynamic thing ever, but she's certainly more dynamic than I really expected she was going to be. Especially, if you're familiar with like Timber from the Deluxe Snake Eyes set, you kind of get an idea of where they're going with some of these animal pack-ins. And yeah, she's pretty cool. So we've got our head, with a huge, huge articulated jaw. It's just the upper jaw that moves. So the whole thing. You've got rotation at the head itself. Then it's a ball peg. So swivel, up and down, and then rotation. You've got what would be kind of the torso cut, diaphragm cut rather, up. So to aid the head, look at that. That's pretty good. And then you've got shimmy side to side, and it's also your rotation. So you can kind of get that like thrashing motion in there. Four legs are on hinges on the front. So they go out, they rotate. They're permanently stuck in this sort of L position. And then you've got hinges, and its rotation, really, at the 4 feet. The back legs are on ball pegs. So they go out not quite as much, but still pretty good. Full rotation. And then you've got hinges and rocker on the back feet. So they're a little bit different. They're bigger, so they get to be a little bit more robust, I think is the way it works out. And then you've got your tail, which is on a ball peg. So it's basically ball pegs through and through for the most part. So you can shimmy side to side, down, up, rotation, of course. So it goes all the way around. But it's also got a wire. And it's pretty good. I mean, like, that's a good kink that you can throw in there. That's about as far up as you're going to get it before it really starts to fight you. Maybe a little bit more. But it does work really well to kind of sell the idea that, she's sort of like, skulking or thrashing around out there, which I think works really nicely just to make her seem, a little bit more lifelike. And in that same vein, she looks fantastic. I'm really, really happy with the way this thing turned out. It's not every day that you think, well, I need a articulated, like, almost foot-long crocodile, but here we are. There's tons of detail on her. She's covered in paint. All of this sort of, obviously reptilian scale work all through and through. The different material for the tail versus the body still matches up pretty well in terms of that color. So this, the green and then the sort of yellow tan underbody. She is hollow here. So you can see this cutout piece right there, and you've got your telltale holes for the wire when it comes to that. But she looks pretty tremendous. I'm not sure which part of this set I like more, CROCMASTER or her, but this is a fun thing that even if for some reason you didn't want CROCMASTER, you'd still end up with a really cool crocodile. The head sculpt on it is pretty fantastic. There's nice shading all over the top, so she's kind of like an olive green color on the sides, and then she's a little bit darker on top. which works, in terms of how Crocs are actually colored. You've got your fully painted mouth, so you've got your tongue in there. You've got sort of, the sinewy gum work in there, and then of course all of those jagged, super jagged teeth that then interlock to make that pretty gnarly looking mouth. And you've got your little tiny, eyeballs there, which are painted pretty well. They're very clean. I mean, they are very small, so there's not a whole lot of paint there when it comes to the eyes, but they add just a little pop of light green and black to kind of just let you know that they're there. But she's really cool. Like, that's really what it comes down to. She's really cool, and it's a lot of fun to have this thing. It's going to break up your Joe shelf a little bit more, because now instead of it being another human, it's this big old thing. And then as far as accessories goes, this being a larger, more deluxe set, it does come with a decent number of accessories. So to start with, we get some stuff that's already been on CROCMASTER this entire time. So we've got his sidearm. It's just a standard gun, no paint on it, just flat black with a little bit of sculpt on it. Fits in the holster really nicely. And then we've got his boot knife down here, which does have a little bit of paint on the handle, but otherwise it's just sort of a flat gray. It does seem to be very, very tight in this sheath, at least for me. So, watch out. Your mileage may vary on that, of course. It's not going anywhere. That's a good thing. And then we get the hook that he can use to sort of, keep Fiona at bay. Kind of like yank it in her mouth. We've got the whip, and it's permanently like this, so it's not bendy or anything like that. But you can use it so where he's like, whipping it back or getting into position or something like that. Nicely sized, too. It's not too big, and it's certainly not too small. So I'm pretty happy with this, despite the fact you don't get a lot of customization options when it comes to using it. We do get a couple of baby alligators for Fiona, because she's a lady, so we get some babies, and in typical Croc fashion, you can put them in her mouth if you want, or have them riding on her back. So you get this little fella right here, one that sort of looks like Mom, and then you get an albino one too, which I thought was kind of cool, just to make them different, make them not just be different sculpts, because they are different sculpts, but make them look entirely unique from one another. So I do like that, kind of cool. And just adds a little bit more flair to this whole set by having more stuff that goes specifically with her in many ways. And then we also get, let's take those out. We also get kind of the big accessory. We get her collar and chain. So you can pop this thing over the head, and then you've got the collar and the chain. It's like spiked leather strap with spikes all over it. Just flat gray. A little bit of paint for the actual strap itself. And this is pretty decent size. It's about as tall as CROCMASTER, so it's got some length on it. And then he can hold it to sort of rear her back, or to, sort of rein her in a little bit too. So that's kind of cool. I like that. It adds the whole idea of them being a pair that go together. And then you got stuff like this, to make it all like a happy little family. So again, it is a larger set, so it should come with more stuff, but it actually does. And most of it is of pretty solid substance too. So yeah, overall, really happy with this set. Like I said, I've really been looking forward to this one just because of the fact that it's kind of different. It's a little weird just to get this big articulated crocodile and this kind of, Croc Man, really. But it's a fun set, and it's going to, for the 15th time, it's going to stand out on your shelf. It's going to look different amongst all your other bad guys. And he's definitely going to add a little bit of size, and she's definitely going to add a little bit of size to your Cobra squad or your team or whatever you've got built right now. They come with a really solid array of accessories. We've got CROCMASTER himself has a lot of options. Fiona comes with the babies, and then of course I really, really like the collar and the leash that he's got for her. The only real downside for any of this here for me personally is CROCMASTER's torso being slightly wobbly, but otherwise it's not a big deal. I mean, I haven't had a problem with it. It's just something to note. It hasn't really been an issue otherwise. So that's going to do it for this look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series CROCMASTER and Fiona. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.